Welcome to my latest case, The Curse of Blackmoor Manor. To start, choose Junior or Senior Detective. If you're new to adventure games or need some help, choose Gameplay Overview. Dear Ned, greetings from jolly old England. Although right now I'm not so sure about the jolly part. That's because I'm on my way to Blackmoor Manor, where the daughter of one of our neighbors is living. The daughter, whose name is Linda, recently married Hugh Penvellyn, a British diplomat. Hugh travels a lot, so the only people at the manor with Linda are Hugh's aunt, Mrs. Drake, and Hugh's 12-year-old daughter, Jane. The thing is, ever since Linda moved into the manor, her health has gone downhill. She's practically bedridden, and no one seems to know why. Her mother is convinced something is terribly wrong and wants me to find out what. So here I am, about to be dropped off at a huge centuries-old mansion in the middle of a dark, foggy moor. I can't tell whether the butterflies in my stomach are because I'm excited or just a tad creeped out. Talk to you soon. I hope. Nancy.
Night, miss. Good luck.
Nancy. Who's there? Hello? There's something out there!
Where, child?
Over there! I mean, something was out there.
Come in. I'm Mrs. Drake. I take it you are Nancy Drew?
Yes, and I really did see something, Mrs. Drake. I heard something, too.
Oh, people are always seeing and hearing things on the moor at night, especially you Americans. Why don't you just go on up to your room? It's the one with the moon on the door.
I'd like to see Linda, if I could.
I'm afraid Linda is, not quite ready to meet with you just now. But please, come see me after you've unpacked. I'll be in the conservatory.
All right, thank you. Wonder what goes there. A tripod. For a camera, maybe? John Penvellyn.
Ethel, do I have to learn this?
Yes, I'm afraid you do.
If I do well, can we play a game?
Yes, but only in French.
Oh.
We're in lessons right now.
Oh, forget it. Stay in Italy as long as you want, then. Some kind of husband you're proving to be. It's not all in my head. Don't bother.
Looks like John Penvellyn may have developed some of the plants that are in here himself.
Are those dreadful spider mites gone? Or is it time for another bath?
Doesn't work. This must be some kind of well, but where's the water? Anyone down there? A carnivorous plant. Cool. That's probably not a good idea.
All settled in? Good. I'm happy that you're visiting Linda, but I know how much you teenagers like your televisions and loud stereos, so I must insist that you act respectfully and civilly while you stay with us. Since my nephew Hugh is away on business, I am in charge of this household. And if there's one thing I cannot stand, it's noise. Hugh's daughter Jane is staying with us and would very much like to meet you, but please try not to distract her. She has her studies and mustn't be disturbed during her lessons.
Is anyone else staying here?
We do not have any permanent house staff, if that's what you mean. The Penvellyns have always been self-reliant. We get on quite well without being continuously mollycoddled by a squadron of insipid, gossiping ne'er-do-wells. Now, we do have two other house guests. Are Mr. Nigel Mukherjee, who is researching the Penvellyn family history in the library, and Ethel Bossany, Jane's tutor.
Do you know what's wrong with Linda?
Oh, Linda simply needs some time to adjust to her new living situation. England is not the United States. We do things differently, or should I say properly, here. The doctor believes it's just a case of nerves.
Her mother told me she refuses to let anyone see her. Is that true?
I don't know, and the doctors don't know. No one seems to know anything. All I've been told is that Linda is unwell and that in her stead, I must look after matters. Now, please, I really do not have time to entertain you. You may have the run of the house, but do not break anything, and refrain from mucking about with items that aren't yours. Two rules Jane seems incapable of following. And before I forget, our kitchen is being remodeled, so our dining situation is rather unorthodox. I've made arrangements with a local restaurant to deliver meals to us. There should be a programmed number for them on the phone in your room. Feel free to order whatever you'd like.
I'm concerned about that thing I saw outside.
It was purely your imagination, unless you saw a stray dog. But I will not countenance any histrionics about this issue. We have enough to worry about with Linda. And please do not get any ideas about going outside to investigate. I do not want you tracking mud all over this house.
This conservatory is very beautiful. But why isn't there any water in the well?
I'm not quite sure. We never really used it, but it was always full of water. That is until my brother died. And then it just dried up. Most of these plants were brought over by my grandfather. He was quite the adventurer. I remember when he brought back Lulu from the Amazon. At first, Mother wouldn't allow us to play with it because it had picked up too many unsuitable words from sailors. But it gradually learned proper manners.
Who is Lulu?
Lulu is a very old parrot. She must be over 80 years old. Please be very careful with her, especially if you feed her. Parrots have quite delicate constitutions, you know.
Goodbye.
Run along.
Do you have allergies, Mrs. Drake?
Oh, yes. Hay fever. Although I'm not at all sure what's worse, my allergies or that medication. It makes me feel as if I'm about to float right out of my shoes. Who's hungry? Who's ready for some nummies?
Did you say something, Mrs. Drake?
Not to you, dear.
Looks like a piece is missing. Wonder what happened in there.
Ah yes, are you here from the agency? It's about time.
No, I'm Nancy Drew, a friend of Linda's.
How do you do? I'm Nigel Mukherjee. I'm researching the Penvellyn family, and Mrs. Drake has graciously opened the library for me. Nothing much has been written about the Penvellyns. Until now.
Sounds intriguing.
It might have something to do with their scandalous history. Or perhaps it has something to do with the family treasure.
Scandalous history?
Well, having a family member burned as a witch can hardly be considered a mark of pride, I dare say. And then there's the whole business with the Blackmoor beast.
Who was the family member?
Eleanor Penvellyn, tried and convicted of witchcraft in 1650, quite the height of the witch trials here in Essex. It was rumored that Cromwell arranged the conviction.
Cromwell?
Oliver Cromwell? Ironsides? I suppose they don't teach history any longer in the US. Lady Penvellyn was a rather vocal critic of Cromwell's policies and helped many of his enemies flee the country. Whether she actually was a practitioner of witchcraft is unknown, although many visitors to the manor during her tenure reported hearing strange, ghostly bells. Some even saw phantom hands floating about the manor, tolling their charmed chimes.
Tell me about the Penvellyn family treasure.
For centuries, the Penvellyns have been very secretive. Some believe they're protectors of a fabulous treasure, or of some dark secret.
Can you tell me about the Blackmoor beast?
It's a story that's been told for generations out here. During the 1600s, many of the villagers reported seeing a strange beast with red eyes and giant fangs prowling the moors. They asked the mistress of Blackmoor Manor, Eleanor Penvellyn, to put a bounty on the beast's head. But, oddly enough, she not only refused, she forbade anyone from hunting the creature. It was rumored that the beast was Eleanor's husband, whom she had cursed for finding out too much about the Penvellyn secret.
When I was walking up to the house, I saw something with red eyes that called out to me.
Really? How extraordinary. Are you sure it wasn't just jet lag?
Positive, and I heard it make this kind of growling sound.
Perhaps it was the cursed husband of Eleanor Penvellyn, prowling about the moors in search of lost Yanks.
Very funny. Who are all those paintings of in the Great Hall?
Those are the Penvellyns who owned Blackmoor Manor at one time or another.
I'll let you get back to your work.
Farewell. Fascinating piece, isn't it? James Penvellyn sculpted it in 1591, although it appears that wand was added at a later date. He was quite a flamboyant figure and never married, but one day, a child appeared quite mysteriously in the castle, and he took her in as his own. That was Eleanor, and many of the townfolk believed her to be a changeling or fairy baby. I doubt you'll find much of interest in there. They're mainly law books. Charles Penvellyn was a prominent judge in the 16th century. Sad to say, he lost his son at a young age, left his estate to his grandson, Thomas. Interesting. I'm researching Philippe Penvellyn, and it appears that many scholars believe he was a pirate. That would explain his source of wealth. Those manuscripts are very old and brittle. They date back to the 14th century. Odo Penvellyn collected most of them. His father, Randolph, and son Milo were rather more interested in military victories than in book collecting.
Do you mind if I use this computer?
No, not at all. But it's very old. Feel free to use mine if I'm not here.
Who's Alan?
Alan Penvellyn was a noted researcher in computers and languages. Jane let me into his computer, but there was nothing much of interest on it.
What's the password?
I'm not sure. Achoo!
À tes souhaits.
Merci. I couldn't quite track the provenance of that piece, but Philippe must have brought it back from the New World. He became quite wealthy as a merchant in the Americas and restored Blackmoor's original splendor after it had been abandoned for years. His daughter Penelope continued the renovation, commissioning the construction of this library by Roger Vizier, who built a similar one for the French general Jean Leboeuf. Those are mainly Penelope Penvellyn's collections of French novels. She was a patron to a raft of artists, and her salon was quite popular. She was quite the libertine, even kept her maiden name after her marriage.
This must be Mrs. Drake's room. Guess she's not in her room. Oh, it's just a parrot.
Scared ya?
Polly want a cracker?
Not Polly! Lolo! 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 Lolo!
Okay, I get the point. Lulu.
Lolo! 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 Lolo!
Do you by any chance know Latin?
Quiste rogavit, bene vidi vici, semper ubi sub ubi, morituri status.
I'll take that as a yes. Would you mind translating something for me?
Fire away!
In hoc signo.
In this sign, in hoc signo, in this sign you will conquer.
Bye, bird.
Allez, bye-bye!
I need the key. Linda? Hi, it's me, Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew, our friendly neighborhood detective. Well, welcome to Blackmoor Manor. I apologize for greeting you under such unusual circumstances.
And I'm sorry to have to bother someone in your condition.
My condition? What's my mother told you? What her son-in-law keeps telling me? That it's all in my head? That I'm just an unhappy new bride? That I just need time to adjust? I'm tired all the time, my mouth is dry, my vision is blurry. But that's not important. Here's what's important, Nancy. There are some doors that should never be opened. There are some doors that hold secrets which must never be known. That's everything you need to know. Now if...
Mummy, can I come in?
No, you're supposed to be in your lessons.
Lessons are over. I want to meet Nancy.
I said no, Jane.
Okay.
That was my stepdaughter. She can be such a pest sometimes. Anyway, I understand you feel an obligation to my mother, but trust me, there's nothing you can do. You're welcome to stay, but I strongly recommend that you go home as soon as possible.
Please, Linda, just tell me what's wrong. Linda? Okay, I'll let you rest, but I'll be back. I'm here for you if you need me. I need something else for this.